One thing about night photography as a whole is that it will give you the opportunity to take pictures that other photographers simply aren't doing. I think that night photography has scared a lot of photographers off because of the problems that used to be with night photography in the past. I mean, there's no question that in film, you'd be taking a lot of pictures and you'd hope for the best, and then you get your film back and maybe it worked and maybe it didn't. So now with a digital camera, because we have so many controls and because of that LCD, it just is great because you can check and make sure that you got the picture that you want. Now, one of the things about night photography, too, is just simply the night lights. And you've seen some examples of some of that. But I want to talk a little bit more about night lights. Because one of the things I was just saying is how photographers, when you shoot night images, will give you something a little bit different. It will add some impact to your photography, to the scenes. I mean, frankly, you look at a lot of scenes is that they can be very dull during the day. You can have bad weather conditions. You can have just a really gray day. It doesn't have to be awful weather, but it just is real flat. And there's nothing really interesting to the photograph, even though it's a scene that you like, it's a scene you think is interesting. But if you come back at night, all of a sudden, that scene comes to life because of the lights. And those lights give some wonderful things going on, some beautiful aspects to photography that, again, it gives impact because people will go, wow, that's really cool. Whereas if they just saw the daytime picture, they say, oh, well, where was that? Yeah, okay, whatever. And then instead, the night lights just give a new aspect. So, if we look at this picture, this particular picture was shot during the day. And this is in Denver, Colorado, and it's not a particularly exciting image. Now, there's certain aspects that are fine, and I was just playing around with the scene. I wanted to get a picture in this area. I was in Denver for a conference, and I liked this particular area. That it's walking only through this part of the place. And what's interesting is there's a nice composition coming back down here. It gives a little bit of sky, and that gray sky is not very attractive, but I've got some tree branches in there to break it up. But the buildings are kind of flat, and the ground is really gray, and there's not much going on here. And yeah, it gives maybe an interesting record shot. I shot it with a wider angle lens to give that perspective that's coming back here, but it's just not that exciting. And in fact, if that were the only shot that I had taken of here, I probably would have thrown it out. So I decided that I really liked the area and liked the scene, and what I noticed is that all of these trees had little lights on it. This was in the winter. I said, I have to come back here at night, because I think this is going to be really interesting. And that's sometimes when you get to an area and you look around, you start noticing where the lights are and stuff. You can pre-scout an area, give you an idea. And I actually came back to the same spot because I liked this particular area. And what a change. By just having lights. Now we've got the lights glowing here. There's lights up above in the sky. The black sky sets them up. There's lights and colors in the building. There's light down on the street down below. I mean, there's so much going on that's so much better than in that first shot that you saw. Now, this particular picture is shot at a very low angle, by the way. This one is using a beanbag again, but the beanbag is literally on the ground. So I've got this camera down on the ground, and I'm using a camera that is sort of like this one, which I've shown how there is an LCD that comes out and it rotates around. This is a live LCD. This was not this particular camera. This was shot before this camera was actually on the market, but it was another little camera, a little Canon that has a rotating swivel LCD. These are great to get a low angle because I can get down on a low angle, put it on a beanbag, and I don't have to lay on the ground to look through the viewfinder. Now, I have shot scenes like this before with even using a standard camera, but you got to guess. You put it down, you take the picture, you look at the LCD, and that's not quite right. So you realign the camera slightly, take another picture. So it is possible to do without a rotating, swiveling LCD. But this type of camera really is great for getting different angles. So by getting low on this picture and looking up, I can get those trees against the sky where they're all lit up. And there's also a little bit of sparkle, again, from shooting with a smaller aperture, and you get that starburst effect. And there's this nice light that is really going throughout the buildings, and then there's the lights that are actually on the street, as well as those lights in the trees themselves. Very interesting. It just makes the picture come to life. And you can see, compared to that first picture, the lights, the night lights, have made the difference. Going from a dull gray picture to a picture that truly has some life. I mean, there's nightlife in terms of photographs. And that's something to keep in mind. If you have a situation, you're traveling and you're traveling, you only have a limited time on a location, and you're just finding the light is dull, the conditions are dull, try taking some pictures at night. And you might be surprised. And plus, I know that you'll impress all your friends and neighbors when they see the pictures from your trip.